No, leave the meeting.
All right. So we are once again rogueless. So we are going to take a break from A Crown of Cold Iron, and we're going to do a bit of a side venture. We are going into the world of the Tarascon Flats. So this is the Tourism Bureau if they hadn't eaten their Tourism Bureau. Welcome to the Tarascon Flats, the edge of the world, the middle of nowhere, a vast expanse of desert and danger where no one in their right mind would want to live. Except for the dust. Tiny particles of ambient magic bubbling up from the earth, trapped, sifted, and condensed into fine crystals by the swirling sands. An entirely unique, natural, magical resource found nowhere else in the material plane. Dust, it lights, it heats, it powers, it pulls, it beats a dog.
Dust.
It puts the pep in a wizard's. So into the wasteland come the desperate and the dastardly, the outlaws and the loners, the tycoons and the tyrants and the mad, all seeking that glittering powder more valuable than gold or diamonds. So you all are roguish figures in the perhaps personality and not the technical class sense.
I take exception to that.
I'll say, do you want to fill in a little bit of background, or do you just want me to like generate some stuff for you?
Go ahead and generate. I hardly have time to look. So.
All right. So each of you perhaps escaping a situation outside of the flats has found yourself here scraping out a desperate existence far, far away from the people who knew you before. Perhaps there is an outstanding bounty or a misunderstanding from a noble who was expecting a hair tonic that would restore their glorious mane and instead turn their beard blue. Who's
it technically worked?
Who's to say who that could apply to? And so through a series of scams and flim-flams and if you just can't help it, a little bit of honest work, the two of you have fallen in together and have been sort of making your way mostly around the outskirts of the flats. If you head deeper into the flats, it starts to get very dangerous. But you all have found something very rare, an opportunity. There is an important group in the flats called the Rosen Investigative Service. Out in the flats, there's not a whole lot in the way of government and sort of official law. There's the gunpowder priests, who are the less about preventing crime and more about taking vengeance for the lost and the destitute and the dead. And except for them, it's the Rosens. And so the Rosens are sort of an all-purpose, as the name suggests, they started off more of, sort of private investigative service, but they've sort of expanded into security, into basically fixing issues that happen in the flats for a substantial fee. Rosen agents are very carefully screened and recruited, and becoming one takes a very long time. But occasionally there is more work than the Rosen company can keep up with. And so they'll put out basically open commissions. And through some cunning and I'm going to say a little bit of luck in a game of chance, or maybe some good sleight of hand, you all won one of these open commissions. It's a literal document with a Rosen seal, and it is sending you to the town of Walker's Rest. Apparently, some livestock have been stolen from the ranch of one Vertinuckle Holmes, and he has put out a bounty to locate and identify the culprits, to capture, kill, or in whatever way stop further theft, and also an additional bounty for the return of any living livestock to the ranch.
Living specifically?
Yes.
Oh.
Along the way, to go and take part in this lucrative opportunity that could set you up with enough to live on for, I mean, a whole year or more. You unfortunately also have run into your old friend is a strong word. You don't like to throw the word friend around. Your acquaintance and sometimes traveling partner, Busker.
Oh.
Busker is a rare, truly honest soul in the Tarascon Flats, which should mean that he has no chance of survival. But he's actually like relatively competent sometimes. But you all have found that his earnestness and just general flat honesty did not work very well for you all. But this seems like a big job, so you've got a third. So you're making your approach into Walker's Rest, and you see a wide expanse of surprisingly green hills here. And they're not big hills. I mean, these are Midwest hills. But it's surprising because the flats is very arid. And actually, this is like thick grass. And you're actually not just grass, you're seeing more eclectic plants. A breeze sort of blows by, and what looked like normal grass, as the wind blows over it, as each stalk turns and moves at a different angle, the hue, the color of it changes. First roll of this side quest, both of you roll a nature check.
I know all about nature with that 9.
Oh, 17. Let's just say that like landed and rolled once. It did
Nice.
not roll. So I got 22.
So Tink, you know this. As part of your expansive knowledge of the flats, just of unusual things in general, this is called Hue Grass, Hue grass. And it's notable because it is a very magical plant. It doesn't have a ton of magical properties in and of itself. You can do some interesting things with it in terms of like creating dyes, infusing certain kinds of like colorful illusion magic. But it's interesting because it suggests there's a lot of ambient magic in this area. And as you look around, you actually spot several other plants that are unusual in their magical nature.
I need me some of that.
I think you're proficient in herbalism. Give me an herbalism kit wisdom check.
Herbalism kit wisdom check. All right, so that would be just roll wisdom at my proficiency, right? Ooh, that's a 20.
Very nice.
All right. Roll. We'll say roll 1d4.
3.
You whip out this little scythe, and to a casual onlooker, well, what are they seeing when they look at Dr. Mallard?
Does he look like a duck?
How do you mean in terms of like what he looks like?
Yeah, just physical appearance, mannerisms.
Does it look like a duck? Does he talk like a duck?
Yeah, anthropomorphic mallard, I think, is exactly what he looks like.
All right.
Wearing a duster and a very big cowboy hat.
So I think that when you're around people and you sort of turn it on, you can convey pretty much any emotion and sort of vibe that you want. But here, with no one watching, there's a little bit of grease to those feathers. There's a little, not literal grease, but, you know, when you're not trying not to look that way, you don't look like a reliable individual. So someone might be surprised to see you whip out this sort of specialized, it's somewhere between like a knife and like a very small scythe, and just with incredible dexterity, just shear like it in exactly the right way and come away with a huge like sheaf of Hue Grass that you neatly tie off and tuck into your herbalism kit. So you can mark that in your inventory. So you all are continuing along. Busker is absentmindedly plucking at some instrument, that you've never seen anyone else play it. It's very twangy. The overall impression says lute, but the proportions and things are wrong. You just know that it cuts much more than you'd like early in the morning. So you all are making your way along. So Busker is kind of a gangly individual, very bright, honest face, kind of like dusty blonde hair, a little on the pale side for living out here in the flats. And his clothing is a little bit more colorful. He's got like a bright, like violet shirt under a vest and some like sensible pants and boots. So he's plucking along, and you realize he's playing in time with the clunk, 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 clunk of Tink's steel defender that she's riding on. So can you describe, throw out a little description for Tink and her steel defender?
My steel defender. Oh man. Honestly, the first animal that comes to mind is kind of like a red panda.
That is fantastic.
Think of like a red, so that would probably be about the right size too for Tink. But got some armor on, hence the clunking. Because I don't really see red pandas typically as being loud animals.
They're not usually made of metal.
They're not usually made of metal.
So fun question.
Yeah.
Is this red panda shape, like what's the color? What's the texture of it?
I think the way I see it is that it would be colored properly, but would be shiny and metal looking. So texture wise, it's going to look like a metal thing. It's not going to look like a fluffy red panda, but it is going to have the right coloring. Tink knows some people. She knows where to get a good paint job done, get your rims, nice and tricked out.
I think there's like a nice, like a sort of brushed texture that gives it almost that fur look, but then it's got like a nice, smooth, shiny seal over it, like a clear coat.
She's friends with the guys from Pimp My Ride or something.
Yeah.
You are the guys.
The gnome equivalent of Pimp My Ride. It's like, wait, what's the name of the rapper that did that? Let me see if I can come up with some sort of pun.
Ludicrous?
No,
Exhibit?
It's not ludicrous.
Oh shoot, I know this. I don't know why I know this, but I know this.
Who did Pimp My
Exhibit.
Exhibit.
Exhibit. All right. I'm gonna come up with a gnome-related exhibit pun.
Oh goodness. All right. So a lot of people would be distracted by the strange contraption you're riding on, but honestly, It's not the weirdest mount out in the flats. And anyone who knows what they're doing is going to be much more fascinated and rightfully concerned with the long, well-maintained firearm resting across your back.
Yeah.
So you do in fact have a musket.
Yes.
You also you can switch between either a musket, dagger and shield, and pistol and shield. Or sorry, pistol and shield.
Yeah.
And you have a unique thing where you can actually use your intelligence for your attacks with your enchanted weapons.
Okay.
You're just that good. So you all are drawing close to Walker's Rest. Walker's Rest it would barely qualify as a village anywhere except the flats. It's just a cluster of about 20 or so buildings. But out here, it's practically a bastion of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick out what looks like a saloon. There's a lot of people sort of coming and going. You see what's clearly like a jailhouse here, which is itself kind of a big deal because it means that there's like a sheriff or somebody. You see a smith, a general store, and off in the distance, both of you make perception checks.
Ruh-roh. 5.
Oh no.
I'm good at perception too.
Yeah, like man, how did you get a 5?
Shit.
Oh,
No.
because you. Oh,
I
man.
rolled a natural 2. She rolled a natural 1.
Let's see how Busker does. He got a nat 2. All right.
I should take off my glasses because now I can't see distance.
There are unusual structures farther off in the distance. And we'll just say you don't see details, but you do know from this briefing and from what you've heard, Walker's Rest is a ranching town. It's famous for the unusual and large ranches on the outskirts of town that basically it is the town economy. It sees a little bit of use as like a transit point, as sort of one of the rare safe stopping points. But for the most part, it's the ranches.
Mm-hmm.
Is this named after Walker, Texas Ranger?
Believe it or not, it actually is. I created this setting for my in-laws when they wanted to play D&D, and they wanted to play a Western, and my mother-in-law loves Walker, Texas Ranger.
That's amazing.
The Saloon Keeper is one of Chelsea's aunt's characters.
Nice.
Since you mentioned the Walker, both of you make history checks.
Well, that's not going to go well for me.
17.
7.
So Mallard, you can't quite get it in your head, and you just know Busker is about to lean over and do like an annoying factoid of like, did you know? And as he's about to start, Tink beats him to the punch.
Your mother! I had to make a note. I had to do the Fable 3 gnomes.
So the legend of the flats is that long ago, this was just like another normal corner of the world. This to the players, this is not like a Western world. This is not like a 18th, 19th century American kind of setting. This is still like a fantasy world. The legend goes that in the ancient past, a giant, terrible creature stomped across the land, towering over cities and destroying them. And it wreaked havoc in this long, like they called it the scar for a very long time, this long line of destroyed towns and forests and mountains leading out towards the flats. There was a sort of holy traveler who insisted that he could defeat this terrible creature. And with only some sort of divine blessing and incredible physical strength, he was able to defeat it, but he gave his life in the process. And the legend has it that Walker's Rest is the resting place of the body of this hero called the Walker. With your role, you also know that sort of the legend, the ominous folklore of the flats is that neither the Walker nor the creature truly died. That the creature was buried beneath the flats. And that's why the flats are the way they are. Because the beast is somewhere down there below, slumbering and sort of pouring out malice and a hatred against all life up through the soil, killing any living thing that would grow there. But similarly, the Walker was said to not have actually died, but to have fallen into a deep slumber, awaiting the day in which he might be needed again. And as you sort of relate this, you can actually see there is a small chapel on the outskirts of town. It's a little bit deeper towards the flats than where you're coming from. All right, super exposition done. Go ahead.
I let Tink finish saying all of that. Then I give her a look and say, I already got to put up with it from this one. Don't you start too.
Busker just smiles. Maybe that's the most annoying thing about him, is that like you say stuff like this a lot about Busker and he just doesn't care. It just washes right off. Like he's just happy to be here. You might actually think, have you all seen Parks and Rec?
A little bit.
He's like a season 3 or 4 Andy Dwyer.
Okay, yeah. Just happy to be here.
Yeah, he's just happy. And he doesn't understand when you insult him, so it doesn't bother him.
I think I'm going to need a drink if I'm going to have this guy with me.
Well, and that was my next question. Where do you want to go to get started?
Into the saloon.
All right.
Does
So
this fluff? I was gonna say, does my steel defender have to be tied up?
you can. You can adjust your infusions. I don't know. Have you played an artificer before?
Not.
So artificers can actually create magic items on the fly.
Nice.
They basically have like a list that they can choose from. And for your list, I gave you repeating shot, which is on your musket to let you use your intelligence on it. You also have, you've stitched together a bag of holding.
Yes.
There's also the mind sharpener. You know how to make this, which lets you re-roll concentration checks 4 times.
Okay.
But also there's the Homunculus servant infusion. If you wanted to use that one, you could actually like compress your steel defender down.
Okay. Where is that? The homunculus. Oh, there it is.
While you're looking, I'm going to go grab her treats.
Yeah, go get the beggar.
So we just go to the bag of holding and hit remove.
Okay, so I can. Okay, wait. So I see here under infusion. So how do I?
I'm just going to drop it right in.
All right, thank you.
All right. If you refresh, you'll now see Homunculus servant in your
Bag of holding.
well, it's in your extras tab.
Yes.
Right next to you.
Oh, thank you. All right, give me a second, baby. I know.
Oh, you can go ahead and mark this down. As annoying as he is, there's something about Busker's presence that just encourages you despite your best efforts. And each of you gets 6 temporary hit points.
Okay.
He has the inspiring leader feat.
This is real. Give me it. You know what
Find your hit points.
Sorry, I am working on that video.
I guess that's one reason to keep him around. We could just shut him up.
Yep. He does come with perks. All right. So as you approach the saloon, man, there's a lot happening on this street. So I don't know where else in the world you have come from. And you all are yourselves kind of a weird portrait. Busker is human. Tink is a gnome. Mallard is a foul Aarakocra. You all sort of cut a weird profile, especially when you add, does your Steel Defender have a name?
So that was what I was trying to decide was, should I give it like
Fluffy.
Well, Fluffy was what came to my mind.
Hey,
But then I
that
was
works.
also like, or should I go the opposite direction and it be named something like Killer or because it's a red panda.
This is true. Well, we'll let you work on it.
Yeah.
And
I'm honestly leaning towards Fluffy. I almost called it Fluffy. So
Exactly.
it could
You're
be really
used-
menacing looking. Because I imagine as a Steel Defender, it's probably menacing looking, even if it is a red panda.
well, and so this is what's odd. You're
Okay.
used to like people really having a lot of thoughts about your Steel Defender.
Mhm.
And actually like nobody seems to care, which is weird. But you realize as you look around, like, this is a weird place.
Mhm.
On sort of the hitching area outside, on one end of the hitching posts, there is an honest to goodness silver stallion with an opalescent glimmering horn.
All
And
right.
it seems to be tied to the post with thin strands of what looks like golden and silver hair. Like someone has woven it into like a very fine rope, and it's just being held there perfectly.
So not from the mayor's mane though.
No, it's like someone has like woven this, and it's just sort of gently draped over the neck, and it's just
You know.
and actually even the air around it, like it doesn't smell like horse. It smells like, it almost smells like sweet candy.
Okay.
There's a sense of just like it bypasses sensory information and just plugs directly into your head as like good, happy, innocent, bright, wonderful, whatever that seems to be to you.
Okay.
Which is good because on the other end, in a sulfurous cloud, is an equally large creature that is coal black. And I don't just mean that it has black fur. I mean, it actually seems like it is
Made of coal.
yeah, like a burning carbon structure to it. There is fire coming off the mane, fire in the eyes. There's tufts of what would be hair or fur along the, like just above the hooves, also fire.
Okay.
And when it, there's a little plume of smoke and flame. It's being held with big, heavy iron chains that seem to have some kind of runes carved into them that they fade when the creature stands still, but every time it moves, they pulse.
Okay.
And it's not hurting it, but it's clearly like keeping it chill.
Okay.
And people are just not really paying a whole lot of attention to you all.
This is just a normal Tuesday for them.
Yeah, like you all hardly register here.
Okay.
And there is a sign above the door of the saloon. And the sign, we would say that it looks like it's in neon. But you all recognize it's magical writing. And the saloon is called the Roundhouse. And there are magical lights, not lit currently, all along. And there is a huge, beautiful window. It's not quite stained glass, but there's some kind of color filtering happening that's giving it this sort of just beautiful appearance. It's honestly really nice. Like, you don't see nice stuff out here. This is like, ooh.
Is the stained glass image of the patron saint of the town, Saint Chuck?
It's just sort of like beautiful color.
Or I guess we should call him instead. We should call him Saint Charles. Yeah, Saint Chuck is a little.
So, do you all want to head on in?
Sure.
Well, first I'm going to sidle up to this unicorn and see if it notices me.
Quack quack.
It just sort of turns like big, faintly, like the eyes almost glow in similar colors as the horn, but you can tell that it's looking at you, and it's just kind of like,
All right.
just a little bit of like a proud disdain to it.
Same to you, Shiny. Here I was going to make you famous.
Sure.
It's not giving you the time of day.
I'm not going to risk plucking any of its hairs from my potions.
Yeah, that would end.
Yeah, that would probably not end well for you.
That would end poorly.
Not if it's noticing me.
Make a perception check.
Woo, 7. I'm rolling great.
Should I make one as well, or just him?
Yeah, both of you.
Okay. I rolled a 4.
So your first notice that something is happening is this weirdly, like, it's like if a concussive shot was also a musical chord. Like someone rang 3 bells in a perfect chord that also picked up a heavy object and shot it forward at great force. And you see an elven man and a halfling woman both go flying through this glass. There's actually this sort of same chiming sound as they blast through. It sprays everywhere. The horses just sort of like each take one step to the side and they go flying past them. Yeah, what do you all want to do?
Y'all all right?
You hear a voice. They ain't gonna be if they don't get moving. And you see an older woman has sort of poked her head up through the remains of the window, and she's holding what looks like, from what you can see, it looks like a strange a strange like wooden staff, and there's smoke coming off the end. What's unusual is the woman has almost sort of like pearl skin, and this sort of rainbow gleaming silver gray hair tied up in a bun. And she says, "Now y'all won't be cheating at cards in here again, or at least you don't make me hear about it. Now I don't want to see y'all for a while." And they both kind of
Yes, ma'am.
they look like rough customers. It looks like you maybe even think you've played cards with those people before. But there's this like tinkling sound, and all the pieces of glass just back up into the window, and it's perfectly solid again.
Now that's a neat trick.
That's what y'all want to do.
I want to not play cards.
Yeah. Down for that.
I'm gonna sidle on in and very respectfully bow to the lady as I settle up to the bar.
Mm-hmm.
She gives you a nod back. In the dimmer light inside, you can see there's actually a gleaming, not quite full, but like a spectral flicker of a halo above her head. And what you thought was a staff is actually the end of some kind of arcane rifle. And this woman is standing behind the bar, almost immediately back to like fixing things, getting things ready. And you can see that there are actually mage hands floating through the air out of that same kind of opalescent rainbow light, like bringing people drinks and picking up plates and taking money and going back and forth. And not just one, there's like a dozen of them. But there is also a young gnomish girl with long red hair kind of tied up in a big poofy ponytail behind her head. And she's sort of running back and forth, taking orders. And she says, I'll be right with y'all. Just a second. You go ahead and sit wherever you want.
If there's
A booth or a table.
well, if there's space at the bar, I'm heading to the bar.
Okay. We can do that.
All right.
You might need help me out. Well, Buster may have to help us with that.
So I think you're used to this. Even though Fluffy is sort of shrunk down, Fluffy sort of runs out ahead of you, and instead of the clonk clonk clonk, it's now like ting 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 ting. But then Fluffy like goes sort of straight and stiff and becomes like a stool for you to step up to your seat. The little gnomish, the young gnomish girl running around goes, "I gotta get me one of those." Around the bar, there are some unusual characters. You see what looks like it's a weird cluster. You see a table of. It's not that they're all of like one particular like race or background, but there's a weird combination of like, you notice like red dragonborn, fire genasi. You see a human woman, and she's got this like thick leather, like it almost looks like a leather like fireman's coat, and she's got it like undone sort of at the waist, and just has like a shirt under. But it's this weird combination of like, you all are both smart enough to read, someone put this group together for fire resistance. And they just seem to be sort of hanging out, probably eating an early lunch. You also notice they are ripped. Like all of them look like they could lift one of those tables right over their heads, no problem. There's a couple of folks, yes, playing cards again, looking very like a little nervous now. But what draws your attention, there is, at first you would think he's a dwarf. He has sort of the dwarvish frame, short, wide, muscular build, stout, short legs, big bushy hair, big bushy beard. But some of the details are odd. His skin is like a scaly, leathery red-black. He has something on his brow, like there's like marks or growths or something. And his hair is this like smoky orange fire going down sort of the back of his head and down the front. And he's laughing and chatting and drinking from a giant mug that seems specifically designed to not be corroded by whatever's inside. And he's talking to an older elven woman. And this is unusual because you all would know elves don't usually look old ever. Like, you would guess that she is hundreds of years old. But by human standards, she looks like she's like of a grandmotherly build. And she's wearing this white, flowy, big dress that kind of drapes around her, and like a giant sun hat. And she has this wild collection of silver like charms on this huge jangling necklace. It's not just like one strand, it's like 10 strands. And you see like runic symbols and holy symbols and just it's this whole jangling mess. She makes so much noise when she moves. But she is also enjoying some stout drink. And those two are sort of chatting. So the young gnomish girl comes back and says, well, welcome to the Roundhouse. What can I get for you?
Oh, I'll start off with just a whiskey and a rumor if you have any.
As soon as you say whiskey, you notice that one of the mage hands that had just been kind of like bobbing in an idle motion immediately goes and like grabs a glass, grabs the bottle. A second mage hand comes over and she says, well, the whiskey will run you, we'll say a couple silver.
Yeah.
As far as a rumor, she kind of looks around and says, well, I guess if you just got into town, you wouldn't have heard much about it. The big word is there's supposedly some livestock rustlers out there.
My stars.
Some of the ranches have had some things go missing, and they don't take that lightly. One of the mage hands swats the back of her head, and the older woman says, Melky, I don't want to hear any more hearsay or gossip out of your mouth. Sorry, Missy.
I'll apologize on her behalf. I did ask.
One of the hands swats you on the back of the head.
Thank you, ma'am. I did deserve that.
She just smirks and goes back to tending. So your drink comes. You do notice the sort of little is tumbler the right word?
Sure.
What's the short glass?
Rocks glass.
There we go. The bottom has actually been carved with little runic marks, and there's a temperature control. This sort of is set when the mage hand grabs it, and it comes out it keeps the drink at the appropriate temperature.
Well, my land and stars.
Busker embarrasses all of you by getting like a root beer.
Can't take this feller anywhere.
He immediately starts playing some. The one behind the bar says, "You know how to play that thing?" And he says, "Yes, ma'am." He says, get over there and get us some music, and I'll cover your drinks." He goes over and starts plucking something out. So you got your drink. What else do you want to do?
Well, seeing as the waitress got in trouble for starting the rumor mill going, I guess I'll sit and try and listen to what gossip might be happening elsewhere in the bar.
All right. Go ahead and make your choice of perception or insight.
Let's make it insight because that's better for me. Good roll, finally, a 22.
All right. It doesn't take you much to gather that this my notes on this are so bad. It doesn't take you much to realize that this what you gather is a tiefling man is real unhappy about something. And he is sort of ranting about it to this woman. With that roll, you gather that this tiefling man is very angry with someone named Cornelius, and is ranting. You catch little bits about like grazing rights and fence lines, and there's a lot of like rancher, like, shop talk. But the gist is that he is really pissed off at this person and thinks this person is messing with him. For her part, the elven woman just kind of smiles and laughs and kind of brushes it off.
Is the bartender nearby?
Yeah, she's just kind of going back and forth. You see her take out a little like this sort of fine etching tool and actually touch up some of the runes on a glass that's been a little scuffed on the bottom. And she just looks up like, "Yeah, what you need, huh?"
Weird question for you, ma'am.
Well, we get plenty of those.
You know what their deal is over there?
Oh, yeah, that's old Helbreth. He's always mad about something. Well, you saw the big angry horse out there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he raises those out on Helbreth Ranch, and they've been having trouble with some of their fence lines, and he thinks that one of his neighbors is to blame.
Figure folk would be able to take care of that anyway without having to resort to all sorts of untowardness.
We joke that Helbreth just wakes up untoward. It's sort of his default setting. He needs a couple of drinks in him to go from untoward to just unpleasant.
I know the kind. What's the name of the ranch that he's having the trouble with?
That's the Corn-Fed Ranch. Yeah, Cornelius. He's also one of the only bankers in town. Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
Woo, 15.
All right, with a 15, she says, well, just between you and me, I don't even think Cornelius likes to be here. Everybody here is a little bit, and when she pauses, the elven woman laughs just huge guffawing laugh, and all of her bracelets and all of her charms and necklaces all jangle, and little sparks of white light come off of them. And she says, yeah, everyone here is a little bit unusual, a little bit loose. Cornelius is the most buttoned up gentleman I have ever met in my life.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, don't bother me none, but sure seems to bother him.
Well, while I got you here, once we finish up selling everything, would you mind pointing us in the direction of, hang on, let me, Colonian Mobile Homes? I heard they're looking for some ranch hands to help out.
Oh yeah, that's Bird Knuckles' place. Yeah, he's an old coot, but he's a good one. Yeah, you're just gonna let's see, she kind of looks around, figures out which direction. That's gonna be out the north side of town. Can't miss it. I'll give you a helpful hint. Walker's Rest sits at the hub of sort of a semicircle of all the ranches. And she kind of points. North is Chelonian Mobile Homes, although sometimes folks just call it the Cello Ranch. Northwest, that's the Clear Down Area. That's Melky's great uncle. Then southwest, that's the Cornfed Ranch. That's Cornelius. Then west is Helberth. Then on the other side, on the northeast, that's Mama Maytaro. That's the jangly lady.
All right. So Cello and Hellbreath don't have a property line, because if I'm working at Cello, I do not want that man as my neighbor.
No problem there. You'll have plenty between you and them. I mean, you have to, because the nightmares spook everybody. They clear about spook me. They definitely spook the other livestock.
I can believe that. But I actually happened to, no, sorry. Now is not the time to be talking about my cure for night terrors.
Night terrors?
Well, you say that you get spooked by those nightmares.
You're funny. I like you. And just for grins and giggles, we're going to have Busker make a performance check. He made a 23.
Nice.
Everybody's in a pretty good mood. So Busker has gotten your drinks covered. We'll say, Tink, you got whatever you wanted. Is there anything else y'all want to ask, or anyone you want to talk to?
Just double checking. Did she say that the jangly old elf lady was, where's she in relation to Chelonia Mobile Homes?
She is northeast. So she is actually to the east of Chelonia Mobile Homes. She would share a fence line.
Okay. Well, in that case, I will slide my way on over. Sorry to intrude upon your lively discussion. My associates and I are new in town. Heard about some ranches looking for hands, and I do believe that if Cello is looking for help, like we heard, that you will be our neighbor.
Mama Maytero sort of laughs and says, well, look at the manners on this young duck. And she holds out a hand to shake. She says, well, you can just call me Mama. Well, if you're going to be working out there for old Vertinuckle, are you good with heights?
I casually toss back my duster and let my wings expand.
Well, that'll serve you well out there. Yeah, we'll be your neighbor. You can come on by. And now I don't know how well the horses will take to you, but and she kind of gives you a look and says, how did my big boy out there treat you? And she points out towards the unicorn.
Didn't give me the time of day. Here I thought I was going to make a new friend.
Well, that's good. That means you're not too nice. I don't like them too nice. So yeah, you just come on by and don't worry, the horses, they're not like Helbrith's Hellion horses. They'll leave you alone. They'll go out of their way to leave you alone if they don't want to be in your presence. So no worries. And Helbrith just freaking sparkly frou waste of horses. And she just sort of rolls her eyes and laughs him off. And he says, so you're going out to the Cello Ranch then?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Now, last I had heard, Vertinuckle was well up on hands. What he was looking for was some eyes.
Oh, is that right?
He just gives you sort of a knowing look. And
Well, yeah, I believe I do have a pair of those. I think we'll be all right.
well, I suppose we'll see. Maybe you'll have better luck than the rest of us.
Well, I do appreciate making y'all's acquaintance.
They both sort of wave. All right. Anyone else you want to talk to? Anything else you want to try and find in town?
No, what do you think?
I'm a little curious about the chapel now.
Okay.
At least get a look at it.
Tink wants to go pray.
All right. This is the voice I am the least comfortable with. We'll see how it goes. So you have to kind of make your way a little bit out past sort of the main thoroughfare of town here. You see a couple things as you sort of move along. Mallard, you're a little concerned. You see an older human man wearing what looks like an alchemist's apron. It's not flashy, but like you would know that this guy is probably a legit medical person. You also pass what looks like maybe a forge or a blacksmith of some kind, and it smells powerfully of burning alcohol. And there is a thick fire genasi man. You kind of glimpse through an open door. He's pounding away. He's got his hammer in one hand. He's got a jug in the other. And he takes a big swig. And when he does, like a shot of blue bubbles up through his flaming hair and out. And then he throws some more onto the forge. and you see it sort of flare up with that same blue, and he's just hammering away as you go by, and you make your way down to the chapel. So there's a symbol above the door that you all would be familiar with this. This is a temple of Horizon. Horizon is a god of wanderers and travelers. It's one of the few like more standard religions that have actually tried to put down roots out there. Oops. So you head in. The chapel doesn't seem to have many windows. There's just very, very small, like sort of light holes up along the top. So even though it's like midday, it's pretty dark in here. There's a lot of candlelight. And as you walk in, I need to know something about your backstories. Does Mallard have any like profound regrets or things he feels like he genuinely feels like are weaknesses of his character, or things that he wishes he could change? And the same question for Tink as well.
I think the only thing he regrets is people not buying his elixirs.
It sounds like.
So genuinely no dark history, no.
I wouldn't say no dark history. It's just that he doesn't regret it.
There we go. So what about Tink?
I feel like Tink's definition of like a regret would not be quite in the same category as, you know, dark history.
Well, here's maybe another question. I think I
Yeah.
already know where Mallard sits on this.
Yeah.
Does Tink have a particularly strong sense of justice? Not necessarily like perfectly following the law, but like things are supposed to work out in a certain way. You know, bad things should be balanced. Good people should receive good things. Bad people should get bad things.
Yeah, my gut reaction is always to say yes, but then I'm thinking, you know, this is a different character than Rachel. And if Tink is hanging out with Mallard, then she might
Well,
be.
and this is on a bigger scale. Like,
Okay.
not necessarily like, you know, selling some bum potions or something, but
Okay.
like, you know, real life and death kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like-
I'd say then yeah, she would.
So as you all walk in, Busker has stowed his
Loot.
has stowed his strange instrument.
I thank God we're staying here. We're never leaving.
As you all walk in, just for grins and giggles, we'll say, Mallard, you walk in first, and that whole conversation we just had, little bits of that, almost sort of those, like something is picking through your thoughts and memories. Just little like, but it just sort of like a wave. It just goes over you, and it finds no traction. It flows over Busker, nothing. He just smiles, and there's nothing. It doesn't even slow for a second. It gets to Tink. And as you feel this, it's very, very quiet. There's no one sort of dark moment. There's no deep regret. There's no like deep injustice you feel you need to right. But it almost washes past, and then it's almost like it catches. just a little bit. And deep down, past all this other stuff, you know, down to the real stuff, you know, not selling bum potions or magic weapons that quit working as soon as you change your infusion, like the real stuff. You know, people being stolen from who have nothing, people getting killed, and no one ever knows, no one ever even finds the body. On some level, those kind of things bother Tink. And that's why you hear downstairs. And for just a second, you smell gunpowder. And then you realize there's someone in the room. It looks like a man who's maybe, you know, middle-aged human. He has a dark hair that's starting to go gray a little bit, salt and pepper. He has a dark complexion that could be sort of natural. It could just be from living in this very, you know, sun-stricken environment. But he looks up and he's walking with slightly leaning on a cane, and he's wearing dark clothing. And he says, welcome to the chapel. We don't get a lot of visitors who make their way all the way out here. What can we do for you today?
Just new to town and wanted to see the sights.
And you hear, I'm waiting. And he says, well, of course, this is the Chapel of the Walker's Rest, chosen of Horizon, champion of the flats, the last resting place of the last great hero. If you're going to only see one thing, this is the place to come.
Very, very pretty, I guess.
Where in the chapel is the great hero buried? I'm assuming in the floor.
Yes, there's so this is the Temple of Horizon. There is a crypt below the temple where the Walker's Rest is located.
Is it open for tours?
I think we could walk you down there.
Okay.
And you can see now there's, you know, sort of this dark candlelit space. There's sort of rows of pews. There's an altar with the symbol of Horizon. Looks like there's a couple of doors on one side that go further back. And then on the left side, there's a door that seems to lead to stairs that go downward. And so as you go over there, it's weird. When he gets close, you were smelling the gunpowder, but when he gets close, it almost is overpowered with this sort of smell of incense. And it's like the sound that you've been hearing sort of becomes a little more muffled, a little more muted. But it does get louder as you go down the stairs. And you're starting to pick out other phrases now, like, we could make it all right. Every last thing that's wrong. Every body fallen in the sand with no one to answer. He says, he's kind of giving the tour as he goes down. Yes, the chapel actually predates the town. Long before there was anything else here, this was a mission chapel. It's one of the few buildings that is slightly still standing after the legendary events with the Walker. You're sort of heading down this tight spiral. There's a few sort of guttering candles and little alcoves lighting the way. And you enter into a space where there is a sort of plinth, a bier, a raised platform with a sort of casket shape, and there is a relief on the top of it of a bearded human man in sort of a serene, slumbering pose. He says, yeah, it's very significant, but not necessarily a lot to look at.
No, it's really nice, right? Right, Tink?
Yeah, lovely,
Yeah.
lovely.
And Tink, you find your eyes drawn. There are alcoves with candles lighting the space. And they're just large enough, like a scrawny child could sort of sit in there like this. That's about the amount of room. One of them has been boarded up.
I'd like to investigate the one that's been boarded up.
Are you in any way sort of concealing your movement as you head over there?
Yeah, I can.
So give me either stealth or deception.
Deception's +2. So. 11.
If I see Tink eyeing this alcove, I'm gonna talk to the crypt keeper and draw his attention. Yeah. Okay, what can you tell me about this relief here?
So now you make me a deception check, and if you can get a 10 or higher, she can roll again as
God
advantage.
damn it, Joe.
I rolled a natural 1. I'm very distracted by the fact that I can't spread my wings down here.
All right, let's see. And I'm a crazy person, so I do indeed have a whole stat sheet for the Padre. He's going to make an insight check. 22. He sort of very smoothly steps in front of you and leans down and says so quietly that like Mallard and Busker don't hear. And he says, "You really shouldn't listen to strange whispers in basements."
I whisper back, then why does it whisper?
Because it is a very dangerous thing that wants to be used for very dangerous things. And it doesn't really care who it has to hurt to do it.
Okay. Tink is rethinking some life choices right now.
So here's what I'll say in this moment. You feel like if you wanted to go for it, even though it's closed, part of this whisper, you know that you could get this thing in your hands if you really wanted it.
See, I'm starting to feel like Tink is starting to second guess whether she wants it. because she doesn't know what it is.
Insight check on the Padre.
Sure, go for it.
Therefore, okay. No, well, that one,
Alright.
it's fine.
I feel like I can't make an insight check because I wasn't even paying attention to the Padre. Whispering.
He seems inscrutable.
Yeah. Oh no, gosh. I think Tank's gonna walk away, honestly. Unless that should be a plot no.
No, this is totally up to you.
Okay. I think I'm gonna walk away from it.
All right. As you walk away, you have a sense that if you wanted this, you don't even have to be here.
It would come to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll wait then.
All right.
Well, I guess we're heading out then.
Yeah.
Right.
Head back out on the road.
As we leave the
towards
chapel, I turn to Tink and go, "What the hell was that?"
something for later.
Well, that's not ominous at all.
Yeah, that's why I stopped investigating. Got a little too ominous.
All right.
All right. So as you make your way out, the Padre kind of gives you a concerned look, but doesn't stop you, doesn't say anything else. And you are now back out in the street. You're like a couple of blocks equivalent of sort of just open space to get back to the center of town.
Mhm. Shall we head to the ranch, or is there anywhere else?
Well, I reckon we might as well.
Okay.
All right. So with the directions you've got, it's pretty easy to head out that way. And there's sort of not like visibly maintained roads, but certainly you can tell that like people tread this way a lot. So you make your way down this road and you notice there's something in the distance. Like it's mostly, there's very gently sort of rolling hills, but it's still fairly flat out here. But in the direction you're heading, it's almost like there's a lot of hills. So you get closer and you can see now there's a fence line. Even at this distance, you can see there's sort of a wavering distortion in the air, sort of described by the fence line. And the trail that you're on leads to a gate. Before you quite get there, go ahead and everybody make another perception check.
15.
10.
All right. Something you could be doing. Your homunculus can give you the help action.
Okay.
So you can roll with advantage fairly often. There'll be some limits based on like what it can actually do,
Right.
but
Would this be one where I could
yeah,
roll
so go ahead and
again?
roll again.
11.
All right. Honestly, it doesn't take much. There are hills. The hills are moving a little bit.
Oh, they're alive.
With the sound of music.
Maybe.
And you notice actually there is on the largest hill, there is like a small ranch complex. You see like a house, you see what looks like maybe a bunkhouse. It's fairly nice. Some outhouses, various houses. But you see like there's some grass growing up there. You see on some smaller ones, on some of the smallest hills, there's just like maybe like a tree and a patch of grass. And you see sort of a whole spectrum. You even see like a moderate sized one where there's just a field of what looks like maybe a grain of some kind growing up. But very slowly underneath, something is moving. And now that you're this close, you don't even hear it, but you can feel it. Every time one of these hills moves a little bit. So once you start to get up towards the fence line, you see a flash of something, and you hear some yelling in the distance, and a couple of figures are kind of walking towards you, and from on top of this house on the highest hill, something comes like flying off of it and swooping down towards you.
That's not ominous at all.
It is a sort of wizened, shortish human man with sort of just crazy hair, huge laugh lines everywhere. And he kind of screeches to a halt. And he's apparently wearing some kind of like flying slippers or something. And he says, "Oh, so I'm guessing you all are the Rosen crew."
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Dr. Andon Mallard at your service.
Yeah, doctor, I see. Fantastic. Could always use more of those in town.
That's what I always say.
Oh, and a musician.
Oh, Lord.
Busker just lights up. Maybe I'll steal you away when your job is done. We could use some music around here.
Please do.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what are you? Is Fluffy in like full? Are you riding on Fluffy?
Oh, yes.
He like scratches Fluffy sort of underneath the metal chin. Is totally not perturbed by this creature that's like probably weighs 20 times what he does.
Fluffy absolutely loves chin scratches. So.
I'm just imagining like it's like a scraping metal sound as he scratches, and then that back leg just goes chunk, chunk, chunk.
Yeah.
And he says, well, welcome to Chelonian Mobile Homes, home of our prize Holmes cattle. And he gestures, and I think this is the note we'll sort of pause on. You can see now this largest hill. The hill is a giant shell, a massive turtle shell, the size of a geological feature. And sticking out from the sort of 6 points on the shell is a fuzzy swiping tail, 4 fuzzy limbs, and a whiskered, massive old cat face. And it goes, meow. And it like blows your feathers back and your hair back. And he says, I'm hoping you can help me find my missing cattle.
That's the livestock you raise here?
Yes, cattle.
That's the livestock that's gone missing.
Oh well, not not Snowball here, of course. The hatchlings.
Oh,
We get
I was about to say, how
live-
you lose something the size of a hill?
we get to herd kittens.
No, it's just a hatchling. It's not much bigger than this creature. And he points at Fluffy.
That does make a bit more sense. Wait, what did you? We're gonna have to herd kittens,
Cattle.
cattle kittens.
Calves. Calves and like, I'm trying to combine the two words.
A flock of cats.
Meow.
All right then.
Good
So-
thing I have some rope, but I can do some lassoing from my steed.
When were these cattle last seen?
I'm going to drop out of that voice because it distracts me.
It's totally fair.
He says it's only been about 5 days. They were able to sort of magically request this Rosen commission to go out, and then you all only had to travel about a day to get here. But we're going to put a pause here, and we will come back and investigate some cattle rustling next time.
All right.
All right.
So I'm going to end our stream. And we'll come back the next time we are rogueless, or if we ever want to take a break, we can swap out Busker for something John actually wants to play.
No, make John play basket.
Sean could play that.
He would probably enjoy it.
He'd find it